Yes, This song is called Be the Change, inspired by the words of Mahatma Gandhi, who lived for peace and not violence, and told us to be the change we wish to see in the world.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are recording this on October 16th of 2014. Finally, we had Mercury retrograde strikes again. I mean, if I'm going to chalk anything up to Mercury retrograde, I think this is definitely a prime candidate, Ramon. Mercury went retrograde when we were just getting ready to get this interview in the can the first time, and just all sorts of wires and lines got crossed, and miscommunications and lost communications, and then we go, okay, well, we rescheduled, and we go, we're gonna get it in, and I happened to be out of town and ended up having horrible internet connection, and so we got started on that show, and we just it was unlistenable. I could not do that to you guys, so we canceled again. Mercury strikes a second time, and here we are.
Blame Mercury.
Well, I got to blame something, Ramon. I mean, you don't want me to blame you, right?
That's what you normally do.
Well, yeah, but I normally do that in jest. This one would be serious, dude.
I was born on the Mercury retrograde.
Oh, really?
No, I'm just joking.
Oh, I was going to say, no, never mind. I'll leave that alone. I was going to give a friendly jibe, but I'll be nice tonight, kind of.
Kind of.
Oh, so you got anything on the news you wanted to plug in tonight before we get rolling, Ramon?
Just that one thing I saw, again, I don't know how true it is, but it was about this dwarf planet that was picked up on Hubble in our own solar system. That it looked like it was blue and had continents, but it's kind of far out there. I don't know if it's past Pluto or before Pluto, but they thought it was like a giant asteroid all this time, and supposedly it's a planet.
When did this come out?
I think I saw that last week. They have a YouTube supposedly from Hubble, but I don't know how accurate that is.
I have not seen that.
Everything on the internet is true.
Oh yes, absolutely. The only thing I want to throw out there before we get going myself, Ramon, is energetically, I'm and all of our avid listeners know that I'm kind of an energy fiend, or a sensitive, or whatever you want to call that, and I've never been able to come up with a real accurate label for it, but what's going on right now on the planet, there is a lot of rocking and rolling going on, a lot of changing, a lot of shaking, and a lot of vibrating, and a lot of shifting. And I guess what I'm putting out there right now is kind of a call for level-headedness, and a call for maybe that ability that we develop on our paths to look at things from an objective perspective, or that third-person perspective, before we act, before we step off a cliff, that we don't even see is there. So, and this goes I mean, the full spectrum of events is happening here, all the way from people's personal lives that are being shaken up and changing rapidly, and there's both ends of the spectrum there. There's the trauma and the amazing love stories that are happening out there right now on the planet. And it goes all the way up into, the global events that are happening. I mean, if we can all just kind of take a step back and take a little bit closer look at how we are reacting to our lives and how we are reacting to the things that are happening in our lives, and maybe approach it with a little bit different perspective, with that understanding that within everything in this experience there is always a silver lining, and go at it from that way. Looking at it from that positive perspective is going to put that positive energy out there, and is going to be a much higher chance of receiving positive results than just being reactive and doing what society tells us to do. So anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
One thing I want to mention, I'll get on the soapbox. The GMO thing, I saw, I forgot what late night TV was like saying, kind of making fun of people who are against GMO and how they don't even know what GMO stands for. And a lot of scientists and people in the media are approaching it as people who don't like GMO are against science, and they're really pushing that. It's like, you can't attack the information, so attack the people.
Right.
And it's like, if anything, it's the opposite, because the people who realize that the GMO stuff is not good for you is from scientific results on rats and even on the immigrants who grow it. They were like feeding this GMO corn to these poor Mexicans who were like working the farms, and they were getting sick. And then they're gonna sit here and promote like people are against science who doesn't like GMO.
Right.
It's amazing. And then what's even more amazing, people buy that crap.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm off my soapbox.
All right. Well, we got a real treat for you guys. Like we said, we've been trying to get this show in for a while now, and I'm really very happy that we are able to do it tonight. We have got Karen Tate back with us. And Karen is quite an amazing light out there in the world that is bringing about some very interesting and very dynamic information, and sharing experiences with my chihuahuas that decided to go barking out the door. Anyway, oh my, it's one of those days. Most of us have come to realize patriarchy, rule by male-dominated society, revering solely a male god, is not working for Mother Earth or most of the people on the planet. How do we counter beliefs that there is no option but the authoritarian father? How does society go about making course correction? How do ideas that permeate every level of society, from womb to tomb, boredom to bedroom, voting booth to the workplace, shift into a more fair, equal, and just world of partnership, sharing, caring, and peace? Those are exactly the questions discussed on a long-running radio show, Voices of the Sacred Feminine, hosted by Reverend Dr. Karen Tate. In her show dedicated to the sacred feminine as deity, archetype, and ideal, never before has an internet radio show cast such a wide net to include so many voices whose ideals are in alignment with the sacred feminine libertarian theology. She's got a new book out, Voices of the Sacred Feminine, and that's why I decided to read that little piece off of that book, and because I think we're going to be focusing on that tonight. Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio, Karen Tate.
Oh, well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me back. And if you don't mind, I just have to tell you, sacred feminine liberation theology, not libertarian theology.
Oh, did I say? Oh, geez. Okay.
Well, they're in the news so much. They're so loud. It's understandable, but I didn't want to confuse people to think that any of this has to do with the Republicans and libertarians out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so Karen, just so for our listeners who may not be familiar with who you are, there's a lot of different experiences that each of us go through that put us on this path to consciousness. And I'm curious, what was it in your life that actually turned your feet towards trying to understand who and what we are?
Well, honestly, if I'm totally honest, when I grew up in the Bible Belt, in the southern part of the United States in New Orleans, and they didn't encourage you to do a lot of critical thinking there. There wasn't a lot of intellectual curiosity, and I didn't ask a lot of the deep questions back then. Although I have to admit, I sort of felt like maybe I had been left at the doorstep by gypsies in a basket. Because I never felt like I really fit in there either. I was always interested in ancient cultures and faraway places, and I feel like I was very fortunate that patriarchy and Christianity or any of the Abrahamic teachings, it never really, got their teeth sunk in me. So when I moved to California, out of curiosity, I took a class on Goddess, and it was a slippery slope from then on out, because it just opened an entire new world to me, and it has changed the path of my life. I think probably two books were the most instrumental. One was Merlin Stone's When God Was a Woman, and the other was Rian Eisler's Chalice and the Blade. And I quickly discovered that, it sort of starts on a personal quest. When a woman discovers that there is a feminine face of God, that, our mythology and our history, has swept that under the rug, then suddenly she realizes she was never intended to be a second-class citizen. She was never intended to be in service to God or in service to men. And it changes the whole dynamic, really, when someone realizes that, religion has not actually relegated them as, to an inferior position for their entire life. So that's pretty eye-opening. It really sort of upsets the apple cart and,
right.
Sort of shakes things loose. But even more important, I think, it starts to get the idea across that women can be so many more things than they are told they can be when we live in the patriarchal box. But I don't know, probably the most important of all of this, because they're all important in different ways. They're important personally, they're important for our community, they're important for the world. I think the next thing you find out, at least for me, is how these ideals that come along with the feminine face of God, how they can really change the world into a better place for most of us. Because the discrimination disappears, the sexism, the misogyny, the classism, the income disparities, all of these things, if you're following the ideas of goddess ideals, they shift, and I think that's what everybody's waiting for, this paradigm shift.
Right. Yeah, I want to step back just a second there. In your process, when you actually, you came out to California and you took this course on Goddess, and I'm curious because there's a lot of people that, they may stumble across shows like this, and they're just putting their feet on the path. I mean, there's a lot of people that